Join us on the Swim Monkey.
Swim Monkey TV. On the Monkey.
Hey guys, how's it going out there in swimming world? My name is Tyler Kerns. I'm the head age group coach at the City Mobile Swim Association, and I'm excited to be here with Bryan Welter from Lakeside Aquatic to bring you the first installment of Holding Water, a weekly show dedicated to age group swimming for age group coaches. And so we're excited to have two fantastic guests for you today. I'll turn it over to Bryan.
Yeah, welcome to the show, guys. We're excited. It's, as far as I know, the first real dedicated to age group swimming show that we have. So we'll go ahead and bring on our guest. We've got Rod Hansen, who is out at Irvine Nova, been doing a fantastic job for a number of years. And then Kate Lundsten, who is up at AquaJets and stolen several national age group records away from me on the same weekend. So we've known each other off and on for a long time. Two coaches that as a coach that I've grown up in this sport, I've looked up to and learned a lot from watching them, whether they know it or not. So yeah, guys, welcome aboard, and we'll get this show kicked off. One of the things that Tyler brought up as a topic was trends and things in your LSC. And I'm not necessarily talking about stuff going with the COVID. I'm talking more about things you've seen over the last few years that are maybe different, better or worse. I'll start it off with one of the things that I've noticed since I've been in Texas for 3 years, because I think we're really struggling to get 10 and under participation in the state of Texas. I've talked to a lot of coaches about it. We don't even fill heats a lot of times at tags. And with 30 million people to populate our state, it would seem that we should be able to get 16 10 and unders to whatever level it is we're trying to get them to. And I'm wondering if you guys are seeing similar type dynamic. I mean, it's the same thing on our LSC level as well. So I'm wondering, I'll kick it to you, Rod, to start off. What do you, is your 10 and unders over the last 5 years, has it been anything different? Or, I mean, what do you think about it all?
Yeah, I agree. It's something we always are looking at, especially the last few seasons with our 10 and under girls. And we get 8 and unders and we develop them pretty quick, and it's pretty quick to get some talented, turn some young kids into talented 10 unders. But we've been short, and I think our boys have done really well, but it's just attracting girls. And that flip flops. 5 years ago, it was a different story. We had a ton of girls.
Kate, what about you?
Yeah, we're the same, struggling with the same. We don't have tags or anything. We have our zone meet for the 10 and unders. And, it does depend what year it is, if it's girls or that we're struggling with. Usually it's guys. And we really do struggle at that level of getting enough guys, young boys, 9, 10, even 11, 12, interested in the meets, because hockey is a huge thing here in football and everything else. But that's where we're struggling.
Yeah, we don't compete with hockey down here in Alabama at all.
Yeah, we don't have much of that over here either.
Football is definitely a big. We've actually seen a lot of boys actually come into our team, and so we're actually a little bit more on the heavy side for the guys. One of the things that I was wondering for you guys. Rod kind of hit on it as far as getting some of the girls there. Are you guys seeing an effect on the depth of age group swimming at your LSC level in that 11 to 14 range, or has that stayed pretty consistent?
It fluctuates, but, we always go back and look at the trends at our team of, the results in our Junior Olympics. And overall, I think that the times are being the same. Some of the depth-wise, it ebbs and flows, but it's just I think what we need to do a better job at is just creating that culture and inclusiveness that the 10 and unders want to be there. There's so many options right now, and kids are doing parents are putting them in a lot of different activities. They're not so specialized like it was 15 years ago.
And I don't know if that's really a bad idea, to be honest with you. I think at that age, at 9 and 10, I kind of like it. I mean, I always ask, parents if they want to put them in several sports, go for it at this age. I think it's healthier in one way, and it kind of makes them fresher as they get older. But yeah.
And don't you think that the difference in off-campus PE and kids not jumping fences and climbing trees and all that stuff that maybe we did a lot more of when we were kids, that was kind of our conditioning on its own that they're not getting now. So I that's what I kind of was wondering, is if you think that, they are doing these other sports just because they're not getting that stuff in school as much, and they're not doing it after school because they're sitting playing video games or whatever it may be. Especially now that they're not allowed to go outside. But yeah, I don't know. It's just something that we've seen here in Texas, and we've spent a lot of time talking about it. And we haven't seen much of a drop off, I don't think, in 11 and 12 and 13, 14 performance. Our cuts keep getting faster. So that would lead me to believe that we're doing something right as they get older. So,
I mean, it is amazing. Cuts aren't getting any slower. I don't think anywhere in the country. These kids just perform. I remember when, junior cuts were I looked and I thought, when they made them so fast, I thought, I'm never going to have another kid at junior nationals. And then they do it. And same with the 9 and 10-year-olds. You think, I won't have any kids at state champ meet, which is our big meter zones. And they just do it. I find that fascinating. They always rise to the occasion.
Yeah, I agree. Our kids do the same thing. We go in the season, and it's amazing. I think last summer what our 9, 10 and unders did, I think, and they're just, it's not so much that they're playing video games. They're just involved with piano, all sorts of other activities, and they're fit. It's just, we have to create a better culture where they want to come back to swimming. Mm-hmm. That's an option for them.
And guys, I mean, a couple years ago, really, and it's still on the trend of seeing Dr. Andrews and those guys encourage multi-sport athletes and kids doing that stuff. So maybe if you've got more boys in the program, maybe the practices aren't as well attended, but I think that's okay for age group guys, because I don't know that you need to treat 9 and 10 boys, 11, 12 boys the same way that you coach the 11 and 12 girls. Mm-hmm. And I think some of the concerns that coaches have had in the past are, oh God, they're going to get there too late. They're not going to have enough time. There's this finite window. I was talking to a good friend of mine in Atlanta this weekend who's a coach, and talking about that window that we used to think of as hard dates for girls, 11 to 14. What do you guys feel like that still exists, or a little bit more flexibility in it now?
Well, the good thing about COVID, and probably the only good thing, is slowing us down. We're going to reassess as a society what our priorities are, and I think we're going to come out of this stronger. And not so much, I think, especially with age group swimming, it's a long process. And I think one of the trends is people want results right away, and they don't see the long picture that, as a 10-year-old, you're going to be swimming in 8 more years before you head off to college. Things change. What you do at an LSC championship meet at age 9 isn't going to determine what a swimmer you're going to be, years down the road.
So on that note, one of the things that I don't know if I struggle with it, but that I do take criticism for is I look at swimming, and we've got a roughly 48 to 50 week season. 50 weeks of the year where we're swimming 12 to 16 hours a week with coaching these kids. So my approach is much more, I'm much more hands off. Like, I don't spend a lot of time getting super fired up at every practice and yelling at kids and treating them like, this basketball practice where we practice twice a week for 3 months. And I guess, how do you guys approach that? I mean, since we have so much time with these kids, and we don't really have breaks with that. What do you guys think about that?
Well, I do think, and I think everybody would attest to it with COVID here, that this is a fact that it's here. Coaching has taken on a lot different thing as it is right now. And I think, to me, there is trying to be a little bit more excitement on the pool deck right now, because we don't have, we have a meet coming up, but we don't have meets. We don't have anything, all this stuff happening. So you have to try to, because most kids nowadays, I don't think they're intrinsically motivated. I think they're motivated from the outside, and it's trying to motivate them during this time, which to me, it's a lot different. You have to approach it differently as well.
Hey guys, real quick, I want to, Coach Ben Davis threw a comment in there. Kids should be diverse in sports at a young age. if we do a good job as coaches, they'll consider swimming as a sport. I think that's a great way, and especially for the guys, because they've got they've got a bunch of different activities going on. You got to let them pick that. And like Kate said, coaching has kind of changed a little bit. There are different ways. Bryan knows me from being on deck. I am a high energy person. I coach practice like I coach at swim meets. You're very rarely going to see me standing still. Never going to see me being quiet. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm much more laid back. I mean, I give the kids the workouts. I explain to them what they need to do. I teach them what they need to know, but I expect them to do that. I want them to do that, and so I put a lot more of the ownership on them. And that's not to say that I'm not critiquing them and I'm not, getting on them when they're not doing what they're supposed to, but I'm not constantly doing that for 2 hours every single time they're at practice. It's just not my style. And I think now, especially with the COVID stuff, you look at the amount of time that as coaches we're having to spend on deck. It's tough to do that for 7 hours in a row, to have that level of energy. So I'm kind of happy that that's my style. But
if you guys if coaches out there watching, if you guys click on the video and you want to throw in a comment to the chat, click on that video. For those of you guys who joined us late, I'm Tyler Kerns from City of Mobile and Bryan Welter from Lakeside, and we've got Rod and Kate here. We're just talking about age group swimming. First episode of Holding Water on the Monkey. So we're excited to be here with you guys. Talked about Kate. You mentioned swim meet coming up. What are swim meets going to look like, for you guys? And how are you motivating kids to get ready right now for something like that?
Well, I have this incredibly creative staff that works with me, and it is incredible. So one of my coaches said, hey, let's have an NCAA meet this week. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we're going through the NCAA swim meet from our 11-year-olds up through our 18-year-olds. And every day they're swimming pre-meet warm-up, and they're going to go through all the events. They have to swim all those events. Cool. And we're going to put team totals and divide them all up, and trophies and everything else. Then 2 weeks time, we have a meet on a Saturday with officials and everything else, touch pads, starting blocks. And I have an incredible parent that has put all that together with pods, how many can be in the pool at a time, how, the flow. So you have to have creative people around you.
Rod, what about you guys out in Cali? What are you guys doing?
Our restrictions are still pretty strong. I mean, they mandated this week that youth sports should be avoided, groups activities. So we're circumventing that by providing lap swim with guidance. We have a plan to start out with inter squads and socially distanced, where they come in, swim. The age groupers come in, swim 1 or 2 events for an hour. We give them instruction, run it kind of like a clinic, and then they're out. And we haven't been able to. We're waiting for some of the restrictions to free up so we can do that. We're planning to do that 2 weekends a month. Just they come in for 1 hour, just so they can get some swims in. Right now, I don't think our LSC is going to sanction any age group meets anytime soon. So and this thing is so fluid, it changes. So we're being creative. Yeah, we're fortunate to have practice, Monday through Friday, and so we do some racing in that and try to motivate them that way, and just do a lot of talking with kids.
Yeah, we don't have another team coming in. Yeah, other teams are doing it virally, through. I don't know if it's live or what, but other teams are doing it in Minnesota. But we're by ourselves at our pool, with just the team, and 4 different sessions.
Are they sanctioned yet? You able to sanction the meets?
Yes, we got.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got a great question.
Yeah, we
got a
can't
great
do
question
that.
from Beth here. Dealing with the COVID stuff. How are you guys reassuring nervous parents? And have you had a lot of pushback from parents with kids that, no, I'm not letting my kid come to practice because of COVID, or has it been welcoming back? I know in our situation, we've had probably 95% of our kids have been excited to come back, and the parents have pretty much said, we trust you, we trust your protocols, we trust what you're doing. What's y'all's experience been with that? Have you met with resistance, and how have you handled that?
Similar. We're probably have 95% our upper echelon age group come back. There's a few that, and understandably, that have concerns. And this isn't a time where we're going to pressure anybody to come back. That's their decision, and I understand it completely, especially the way the trends have been going. But like you guys probably did, a lot of Zoom meetings in the downtime. We were fortunate to be able to get into one of our private facilities and practice after hours, because it's a private membership in Fountain Valley that is open to the public. So we had to come in and run practice from 8 to 9 p.m. And that was about 7-8 weeks ago. And we would bring the kids in small groups and have them practice 2 days a week. And we were pretty much there 6 days a week. But the turnout for just that alone, just to get in and swim, and it was 45 minutes till 9 p.m. And, a lot of families traveled for that. So that kind of got us started down the road. And, we're getting back. And hopefully this will, we'll get back to somewhat normal circumstances.
How many age group kids you have in the water right now?
Between probably about 300 to 400 between all our sites. Yeah, we have
I don't have that
3 different sites we operate out of.
Well, I think what parents that are wondering about bringing kids back, like Rod said, we do not pressure anybody to come back, but the best thing they can be doing right now is chlorine. I mean, it is. They have found out, and the droplets they break apart when they hit the water, and the chlorine kills it. So that's been the best thing. And if you had to do any sport, I would say swimming is probably the safest sport out there right now. So I think we have that going for us. But with parents, I think we brought them through a Zoom video of what they have to do, and the kids have been really good because they're just so grateful, I think, to be back at the pool, that they're really trying to adhere to it well. And we have a COVID task force, and they have made a lot of decisions that have been out of my hands, and I'm like thrilled I don't have to make those decisions.
We're actually really fortunate in that our parents have been bought in from the minute we released our procedures to return to the pool. They've been great. Our kids have come in and followed all the guys. They've just been really good. The only nervousness I've experienced from parents has been kind of more towards the leaning on the competitive side of the sport is, oh gosh, this was a big year. This was going to be an important year for the kid because, their birthday is at the end of the summer, and those things that families think about a lot, and, having to reassure those guys that it's going to be okay because as our head coach likes to say, it's raining on everyone right now. It's not just raining on you. So.
How are you guys back to normal practices? I mean, numbers wise, and how many kids do you have per lane? Just so ask everybody.
Yeah, I'll jump in. So my group's going in 2 separate locations. We just got back in our home facility this week. That's 1 per lane. It's a 12-lane pool. So we're 1 athlete per lane. Athletes are wearing masks when they come in, and we're doing a temperature check and doing a couple questions that we track every day, and then we're putting them in lanes. And when we track, they actually go through a reservation process. So for 1 group of 24 kids, I'm on deck for the 2-hour workout plus 30 minutes in between, and then another 2-hour after that. My age group assistant has her group in the mornings. We have a secondary group. We're starting back our 10 and unders this week. So we'll see what that looks like to get everybody back in full swing. But our senior development, our senior group are actually at another pool. And those outdoor pools, we're 2 per lane per side with 1 person on the wall and 1 person past the flags, staggered out.
So we've got kind of an interesting situation. We swim out of independent school district pools, and Texas is not listening to Kate about the chlorine thing. So we have not allowed any outside renters into any of the ISD pools, which is one of the greatest things about swimming in Texas is the amount of facilities that we do have. Mm-hmm. So right now we've got, 600 or so kids from 3 different sites swimming at 1 6-lane, 25-yard pool. Basically we're going 8 to 2, and then we're going 4 to 8:30. And everybody gets across the board. Pretty much everybody gets 2 workouts a week. We've expanded some of the groups to maybe 3 workouts a week, but nobody's getting more than that, even the national kids. And we're running 4 to a lane, 1 at the flags, 1 at the wall, unless they're siblings. If they're siblings, then they can be at the wall. Same thing with the mask. We don't do temperature checks. We actually ask the families to do that on their own. And that's pretty much what we're doing. And it looks like what we're going to be doing for, at least another week or 2 until something changes. But
Hey,
it's been interesting.
Rod and Kate, I want to hear what you guys have set up. But coaches out there, if you guys are listening, throw in the chat what you guys are commenting there, what your teams are going through right now, what your setups look like, so we can see what everybody's experiencing. Kate, what's it look like up there at AquaJets?
Well, at AquaJets in Minnesota, we're fortunate enough to have 3 pools in the same facility. So we have an 8-lane pool, a 5-lane pool, and then a 4-lane pool. So we're doing 2 in a few lanes. We're doing 3 in a lane. And that's worked out really well. We run from 6 o'clock in the morning till 7:15 at night. I'm not there the whole time, but we have coaches. We're there the whole time. So our kids, but I have a small team versus what you guys have, but our kids are getting in 5 to 6 days a week. And our national kids are in an hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours. And basically our higher age group are in an hour and a half, 5 days a week. And then our other higher age group are 1 hour and 15 minutes, 5 days a week. So but our team is small and we have our private facility. So it really works out swell. We have the ability to use that pool. So we're unusual. I know that. Blessed for sure.
Yeah, and we're doing the masks, separate entry and exit protocol. Coaches escort the kids in a group, and we all enter together and exit together. Doing temperature checks. We're fortunate with our age group. We're going 5 days a week for about an hour and a half. We haven't implemented dry land yet. One of our sites in Aliso Viejo is 50-meter pool. It's probably not reopening till September. And so all those kids have come over to Woolett, our site in Irvine. So we've combined their practices, and we have to keep it from mainly 2 kids per lane. So the interesting thing is we're running out of Northwood High School in Woolett, 2 50-meter pools with all these age group kids. And we have to keep it 2 per lane. We're running multiple workouts with the same level of kids. So as coaches, there's about 6 of us, and we rotate where we are each day. We have a set schedule. So it's interesting for me as a coach because I get to interact with a lot of kids that I normally only see at meets, and combine practices on a Saturday. But so I think that it's a good thing for the kids, and it's working well. We're fortunate.
You guys have any cool, unique out there sets that you would that you guys have done to motivate kids? How are you guys getting the guys in practice to challenge themselves right now? Anything you guys can think of? I'll start with one real quick because I threw that at you guys. We've been doing a set of 50s for 20 minutes. Bryan and I talked about this last week. It works really well. We're in the 1 kid per lane. It's 20 minutes, open 20 minutes. Every 50 you stop for 10 seconds. And basically how many 50s are you trying to get in 10 seconds? And we're trying to see, where they were 3 weeks ago and then where they are now. And so we're doing that. And then my kids don't know this yet, but if they're watching out there, they're going to do a set of dive 100s, and we're going to go girls versus guys this week for some dive 100s, trying to see how close we can be to our best time. So I just ruined a surprise for my guys this week.
I think it is amazing because they want to race. I think we talked about this before in another chat we were at, that we did a lot of balance work in the beginning, a lot of drills, and the kids want to race. And so we did a set on Saturday, and they did so well across the board. It was unbelievable. They did, this was not my set, but we do it oftentimes 3 or 4 times a season. They go 6 50s on the 130, 5 on the 124, on the 110, 3 on the minute, 2 on the 50, 1 on the 40, and it's all at 200 race pace. And oh my goodness, they crushed it. We take a number like, how many did you make? And 17, or I made 21. it was the best we'd ever done and ever. So I don't even know why. I don't get it. But anyway, I'm not going to think about it. They're just excited, right?
Yeah, we came back with the attitude of really working on all the technique and all that good stuff, and that was the approach. And I'm really notorious for saying I'm going to do 2 weeks at the beginning of every season. I'm working on that 4 days before I go into doing faster stuff, because we kind of did it for a while and the kids were just getting bored with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we started throwing some faster stuff in, and the kids were like, "Oh, wait, we're gonna do some 200 pace. We're doing a threshold set." I mean, they were so excited. So now we've almost gone. I mean, we're only doing 3 workouts a week, but we've almost gone to like a basic energy system model where we're going on an aerobic day, a threshold day, and then maybe doing some dive stuff or something at the end of the week. And we didn't really plan to do it that way. It just kind of went that way with the way that we were doing it. But going back to what we were talking about with the coaches and the amount of hours on deck and how you split everything up, one of the observations that I've made has been, Rod was talking about working with other kids that he didn't normally get to work with. One of the things that's really great for us as a 3-site program is I've really gotten to interact with a lot of the coaches. I mean, I don't know if they feel the same way about their interaction with me. I've really, we've had a lot of time to get to know everybody and get to work with each other and learn from each other. Whereas normally we would only see each other at meets, and we're so overwhelmed with our kids that we don't get to spend a lot of time. So that's been a positive and a blessing for us. You guys have any thoughts on that, or any, have you spent time with coaches that you normally wouldn't have spent time with and felt like you moved in a positive or negative direction through all of this?
No, I think I completely agree, because we're switching sites and switching groups, that there's more than one coach coaching a particular group. Our numbers are down because of social distancing. So, I'm used to working by myself, coaching my group for 6 months at a time. And now, we're writing out sets, giving it to the other coaches. So that's been good. And the other good thing about this whole COVID thing with 2 per lane, the kids can't hide anymore with a lane of 6 when they're circle pattern. So the sets have been fun. We can set up and, hey, you guys are doing a fast 200 with fins per time. Let's go. And as coaches, we can observe what everybody's doing. And the benefit of that, of having multiple practices where we're doing the same set, is I can say, hey, Larry went a 148 with fins and is 200 free, and announce that to the next year. He may or may not have done that. I might embellish it, but it's a motivating factor for the kids. And then that gives them a target and a goal to go after.
Yeah, same thing, Rod. It's been really good to get a chance. When you got smaller groups like this, you can engage in different ways, and you can have conversations on rest intervals that you might not have if you're worried about the other 25 for you guys, 75 people, whatever it may be in your group that are doing something to keep those guys moving. How many coaches do you guys have on deck on a daily basis, and how long are each of them spending on deck right now?
So we have usually 2 or 3 on the pool deck at a time, and we'll work between 4 to 6 hours every day. So I have just the opposite. I never coach by myself, and when COVID was not here, we were always with each other as coaches, because we have one pool, one area. And so I don't see a lot of my coaches where before I saw them every day. So that's been different for us. But I do have to say, I love, and I'm sure you guys, I don't feel, sometimes I feel like I'm babysitting. I don't feel that right now. I love coaching, because you get to actually interact with all the kids, because the groups are smaller. Yeah. And I love that part. I really do. I miss the storytelling, because I love my whiteboards and I love to tell stories, but I really like coaching them. It's fun.
Awesome. Bryan, what about you guys?
We've got a lot of coaches, and we put all the full-time coaches on the pool deck for anywhere from 3 to about 6 hours at a time, pretty much almost every day. And then we kind of filled in the spaces with part-time coaches. We're either going 3 or 4 to a lane, with the little kids 2 to a lane. and we try to put coaches that coach that group with those kids. Like I said, it's not necessarily their kids, but it's kids of that group that are in that practice. So we've got about 3 to 4 coaches on the pool deck at any given time, and everybody's working about 3 to 6 hours, depending on whether they're full-time or part-time. We are trying to cut back on some of the part-time hours just because we don't know how long this thing's going to last. But that's kind of where we're at. What about, so I think we're good with that.
Yeah. We're fortunate to have, right now we have our senior program practices in the mornings exclusively, and then we have the afternoons, and we run pretty much from 2 to 8 p.m. and we have 2 50-meter pools. So, some days I might not see my group because they'll be over at Northwood High School and I'm at Bullitt, but it's worked out, and we have, similar to what Bryan has, we have a lot of coaches. Most of them are working 6 hours a day. A lot of overlapping.
Rod, are you guys set up short course or long course in those pools?
Short course. There's no long course for us.
Yeah, you need those 19 lanes, not the 8 lanes.
Yeah, right now we're probably not going to have long course this season at all.
Well, there's not a lot of point. I was just wondering, as far as structure-wise, facility-wise. I mean, we have one pool that we're swimming out of that is long course. We get 4 long course lanes, and we're allowed to have 4 kids per lane, so you can have 16 per practice. But it is strictly set up long course. They don't. It's a membership club, and that's the way they roll. And they're triathletes, and members aren't going to let them change that. And we're just thankful we got water.
Yeah, I hear you. Hey, Bryan, you hit on something a second ago talking about controlling hours for part-time coaches. And one of the things that I was talking to a couple coaches earlier in the week that they were concerned about is maybe losing those part-time coaches because they couldn't provide the regular hours for them. Those coaches may have to go and try to find something else to do. And we all know it's really hard to find really good assistant coaches, to find those people that can come in and fill those part-time roles. For you guys, Bryan, are most of those coaches that you're talking about, are they coaching 8 and unders, 9 and 10s, or are they coaching or assistant coaching older kid groups?
Most of our part-time coaches are coaching our younger kids. We have 3 full-time head age group coaches, 1 at each of the sites, and then we have basically 3 like national prep coaches and then 3 national coaches. So each site has its own set of salary people. And then we have age group coaches that work underneath of those people. And like I said, we've just tried to keep our club's been very good to us, and we've been very lucky. We've kept our membership up with Zoom meetings and just being engaged in what we're doing with them. But yeah, that's most of our age group coach, and a lot of our part-time coaches have other jobs, and they're just doing this because they want to be coaches and they really like it, and they do, they teach or they do something else. So we have been able to cut back on that a little bit without really having the threat of losing too many of them so far. Fingers crossed, knock on wood. But yeah, that's where we're at with it. Rod, what about you guys? I mean, how many you guys using a lot of part-time coaches, or what is
Yeah, we have a lot of part-time, and similar. It's a lot of them are former swimmers that want to get back into coaching, and they have other jobs. And we've been fortunate because our membership levels stayed pretty strong, and we did the same thing with all our age group coaches. Even our part-time coaches were doing weekly Zoom meetings 3 times a week to keep the kids engaged, and we emailed out dryland when we were out each morning. So hopefully, like you said, it stays. The trends improve, and we don't have to face that kind of situation, cutting back hours.
Yeah, that's a good question there from Joe. What are you guys telling kids about meets and goals right now? I mean, we haven't really discussed it because we just haven't really had time, and we haven't had enough practices to where we don't have any meets on the horizon. So, and we talk about it a little bit in some of our Zoom meetings, but we haven't really spent much time on it at all. What about you guys? I mean, Kate, I know you said you're doing your college meet. I mean, have you spent what have you been telling your kids? I mean, where are we at? What do we expect?
I mean, I think it's really hard because most of the swimmers, they have goals and they set these goals. And I have a lot of age groupers that are struggling because they have no meets, and they love their meets, and they can see where they're sitting, and they can see where they need to improve, and they don't have that right now. And I think that motivates a lot of kids and parents. And without that, all I've been telling the kids is this is the time you can improve. This is the time you have to use to improve yourself in workouts to be faster swimmers at swim meets. And I mean, we're fortunate enough to have a meet. We're trying to meet this a week from Saturday, but we're doing the little thing like the NCAA meet Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And the feedback we've already gotten from that, our kids are so excited about it. They've set their goals. They know what they have to get. And so I think that's what we're doing.
Yeah, and swimming is about time management and goal setting, and the uncertainty of this COVID thing. Not just hit the swimmers, it's the coaches.
Mm-hmm.
We always had deadlines. We always knew what time we have to be on deck, how many practice we're going to have a week, how many days till our next big competition. Right now, we really don't have that, and so I've been reiterating to the kids that now you have to take advantage of the smaller group size to really work on your technique. So when we come out of this, you're going to be stronger. This is a good opportunity. And Mark, good question, by the way, talking about people
too, yeah.
But that's the challenge is we always had far westerns or zones or JOs to motivate kids. And now it's just, we got to motivate them to just, because planning is a big important thing in swimming, and the uncertainty is what's the toughest obstacle.
And Mark, yes, to answer your question, we've had kids that want to join AquaJets because we've gotten in the water, and we are not allowing, we have a hard enough time with our own membership right now to try to get everybody in the water. So we're serving our members first of the AquaJet swim team. And then we're saying, try us in the fall. But that is a struggle, because you don't want to take away from other teams, because we want our teams to survive in Minnesota. And I don't want to take kids from other teams because we have water. We might not. So.
We don't have enough water to take anybody anyways, but we're not taking anybody. And I mean, I think we've had a couple kids that have moved to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, like from Minnesota or Wisconsin or wherever. And if they're coming from another team and they're moving into the area, we've taken them. As best we can, but we've explained to them, hey, listen, we're looking at 2 to 3 workouts a week. This is what you're walking into. And there's only really one team in our area that has full access, and I think they're pretty packed out too. So I don't think they're taking anybody from anywhere else either. So I don't know.
Yeah, we're doing the same thing. We haven't gotten back to our normal schedule, and we have to serve our existing membership first. So that's what we've pretty much told. Right now, we can't accept anybody.
Same here. And I see a question, comment here from Mike. I know Mike posted a comment earlier about talking to your athletes about the college process. I'm telling mine to go talk to the head coach, because that's his gig with the senior kids. I try to stay out of that, but I know that's got to be, as a former college athlete myself, that's really, really stressful for those guys. And I think from some of the college coaches that comment on it, they understand that it's just a time for everybody where it's going to be unique. And so the whole recruiting process is really interesting. I coach a high school team as well, and I have talked to some of those athletes. And this goes back to kind of the meat thing, is I'm telling them to prepare as if it's going to happen on the regular schedule, just like you would on a regular weekly basis of practice. And it's my job to find ways to motivate them to get up and swim fast regularly. And so we've tried to do some stuff, like I have a different swimmer that has to swim us out of practice every day. We're not leaving until someone gets up on the blocks and does, they get up on the blocks, they pick the event, I give them the time. If we don't get that, next somebody else has to step up. So trying to create the opportunities for them to get up, and with a little bit of pressure where they can get up there and race fast. So no, but Mike, I'm telling them to go see our head coach. They want to talk about college swimming.
And I am the head coach, and so that is the real struggle. And they don't get to see and go to the college campus to see what the team is like. They're not going to be able to do any of that. And so, I think I said, this can either make you or break you, and you have to use it as something positive. And because our team has a lot of kids, hopefully they pick a school that they can talk to one of our alumni who've been there or are there right then. But that's the best I can do, or have them try to find someone who's on that college team, talk about the coaches, things like that. But it's really tough. It is tough. But the nice thing is college coaches know, and everybody else in the world is going through the exact same thing. So and the other question is that I have kids swimming faster than they have as well. I think the break, especially for the boys, was the best thing. I had boys that grew 3-4 inches and gained 20 pounds where they needed to gain 20 pounds. It's been a mental, physical, emotional break, and I think it's been really good for many swimmers. I think we're going to see great times in the near future.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question that the break has been really good for especially like 11 to 14-year-olds, maybe 15, 16-year-old boys, because I feel like every day I walk in and I'm like, man, that girl's gotten an inch taller. And that kid, I had a kid show up today for practice. I haven't seen him in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I haven't seen him in 3 weeks. And he walked in today. He's just turned 14 and he's 6'2", and he was 5'11" the last time I saw him, I'm pretty sure. So I think just the giving the body a break, and I think the time away has almost made a lot of these kids appreciate this a lot more. Not being able to go to the pool made them change their attitudes towards what we're doing, and I mean, now they're begging to go to the pool. They're begging to go to practice. They want to get out of the house. They want to get back to see their friends. And I really think that's part of the reason you guys are talking about best times and things like that. I think it's because of the level of excitement that they have to get back into the water and the appreciation that they finally have for what it is that we've been doing that maybe they didn't have before, because like I said earlier, we're going 48 weeks out of the year and it becomes a job almost. So I don't know. That's my thought. I've been pleasantly surprised with how we've looked physically. I mean, we still can't do a 2-hour practice very well, but we look pretty good for about an hour of it.
Gober hit the nail on the head right there. I think sleep and the amount of sleep that, assuming they're actually going to sleep and not staying up late and texting and playing on video games and stuff like that. That's for the growth has been just an absolute a total factor in contributing to this. What about the kids physically as far as in practice? How long, Kate, how long have you guys been in?
6 weeks.
And how did you see that point the first few weeks where the hips started to drop and we started to get low?
I mean, our hips are still dropping, trust me. But I mean, but I think with Bryan, what you said, I mean, they're just excited to be swimming. I have a senior girl. She hasn't looked this good for 2 years, and in the water, it's just like, what, Kylie, what's happened with you? Like, oh my goodness. She goes, I appreciate swimming. I like swimming. When I didn't have it, I really saw that I enjoyed swimming. And seniors always go on a slide, right? Our seniors don't seem to be sliding very much. So it's been fun to see that in all of it. I think the age group kids are struggling the most. I mean, where I think they're struggling with no meets. I think that's really because they don't get processed as well, maybe as older kids. But that's where you have to be quite creative with them. Of what to do and how to motivate them. So,
yeah, training wise, our age groupers, we've been back 6 weeks. Have been resilient, but they're young. They're back in the form. And I agree with Kate. It's just the lack of being able to plan for a meet. It's just the uncertainty. And as like I've said before, this is a goal setting environment, and kids are used to that. Yeah,
and that's how Joe threw
one of the things that.
Oh, go ahead, Ryan.
I was going to throw real quick. One of the things that going back to my style and what I do, one of the things that we've always really stressed with that I've always really stressed with my kids all the way up since I first met Tyler back when I got to Nashville is control what you can control. And that's kind of always been our attitude. And so we've really now fallen back on that a lot more. Control what you can control, do the best that you can do. And really, after you've done that, that's all you can do. You can only play the hand that you're dealt, and just play it the best you can, and go from there. And it's working so far. When we don't, we'll see in 4 more weeks when we still haven't had a meet, or we haven't been able to, add in some more practices or whatever, if that's the case. But that's where we're at right now.
Did you see that?
That's an interesting comment by Ben down there. I don't know if you guys see that.
I think that's a great question. I mean, that's a really good question. Are you guys seeing what you're seeing? Are you going to add more rest and make kids take time off now that we've been made to have time off? I mean, do you think that's something that you're going to look at differently instead of running programs 12 months out of the year?
Yeah.
Our program here, we're pretty different at Lakeside. This was done way before I got here. I have nothing to do with it. So Jason gets the credit for that. But we take a pretty big break in August. I mean, like a month. And then we take at least a week, more like 10 days in March. So we take bigger breaks here than I've ever seen. But I always go back to when I was in Nashville. I had a girl, Tatum Wade, who swam out there in Rod's neck of the woods at USC. And Tatum's dad used to take Tatum to Arizona for like 5 weeks at the end of short course season every year, and it was not debatable. There was no Coach Bryan's going to talk him out of it. Tatum was going, and that was it, and that was the way it was. Well, one summer or one March, she left and she comes back, and she'd grown like 3 inches in 5 weeks. And at that point, I really started to think about whether we needed to look at this and give these kids a chance to grow and a chance to develop, and give them a little bit of a mental break rather than trying to get back on the training horse right away like we have traditionally done. So I do think it's an interesting comment from Ben.
Yeah, and we did the similar. We take the month of August off. We won't be doing that this year, as we're hoping to get back. And we would still offer practices where we combine a lot of the age groups, and Monday through Thursday, and they get in for an hour, and we have a handful of coaches coach them. And I think in recent years, we've started to take a little bit more breaks, maybe a day or two off after JOs in March. But I think I think we're going to be looking at a lot of different things coming out of this, just how we implement swim meets. I think we can do things better on an age group LSC championship if we have a weekend of just 10 and unders. So they're not compacted in with all the events, and maybe in the next weekend 11-12s compete, and then the following weekend 13-14s, just so we can spread it out and not be so rushed and give the kids a better experience. We're going to learn a lot from this.
I agree. We're kind of similar to Bryan. We do have a big break in August for our kids, really the last part of July, and then all the way through a few weeks in August. And then we kind of phase them back in. We never come back in, full practice schedule. We're a couple days a week, to the point of where our kids and are ready to get back in even more in August once we start back. And and then in March we do take a break. I think some of that is such a financial thing for a lot of people, that they're worried about paying the bills and being able to pay coaches and that kind of stuff, that they worry about, if I take a break here, and are people going to be upset that they're getting charged for this? So it's kind of changing the thinking process of families and athletes too, to let them know it's okay to have a little break, and to get back in. But once we're back in, we need to be back in.
Yeah. I think it is. I mean, we're like you guys. We take a break as well. So, but I do think it's good for them, just mentally, emotionally, physically, just to get away and go do family stuff and hang out like normal kids. I think it's really healthy. And I know with this COVID, like I said, we're in 5 days a week with our age group kids. I do train them differently. A little bit differently, that we do have, because we have no meat. So the pressure for, as a coach, like, I am not as crabby and pressure filled on the pool deck, since this COVID, because it's like, hey, I kind of laid back. I mean, I'm still whistling and yelling and all stuff, but laid back a little bit more because you don't feel that pressure as a coach that, okay, let's work on this. You haven't figured out streamline. Let's scrap everything and let's focus on this. So in that way, it's kind of sweet. I'm kind of liking it. I don't want COVID to be here, but it is kind of nice.
Yeah, and to answer Mark's question, we're not planning to take August off, but I think once we have some certainty on what's going to happen and we start to get back to competitions, then we'll probably have a break sometime in next year, in the middle of the year. We'll factor that in because I think it's helpful. It's just we're fortunate just to be back right now. Well, Mark, you can throw it out in the chat. You're in the chat, just what you guys are planning for August.
I don't think we're planning any break in August. If we do, it's only going to be a couple days. And then I think the first break we're really looking at is going to be depending on what happens in March. And our March and or April, whatever, that time frame, whenever we do finally have a real meet, maybe. But outside of that, we don't have anything planned. I mean, we just went on a 3-month break. Yep. So we're not looking, breaks are not a real priority right now.
We've been in for about 9 weeks. So our break was not as long as you guys. But we're not planning on a long break in August, maybe a few days here and there, but we're not back at our full schedule, even still after those 9 weeks just because of limited space. But, I can see maybe even doing something in December. Knock on wood, we get lucky and we get a chance to do some kind of modified meet schedule. Maybe looking at, I think everybody's kind of targeting December right now is kind of the goal, hopefully that we can get some good racing in. And so maybe right after that, take a short break and get back in. But we got just under 10 minutes left. Last thing we wanted to talk about, because this is a show dedicated to age group swimming and age group coaches. You guys give us some advice for young age group coaches or for coaches that have been doing it for, 5 to 10 years.
It's like what Bryan said at the start of the show, how he's looked up to other coaches, whether they know it or not. And I think if you're a new coach, the best way is to make observations while you're at a meet or in practice and just quietly watch and learn. You're going to learn a lot. And just to look back at your coaches, your teachers, your mentors, what did they did to motivate you, and and try to shape your coaching style in accordance to that. You learn a lot from just watching.
Rod, I think that's a really good point. I'm still always the one that tries to emphasize to young coaches, ask the question. Don't tell them what to do. Ask them the question. If your hand's overreaching, don't say, do this. Ask them why they think their hand's overreaching. Educate the kids so they understand swimming. And I think that's the biggest thing I've learned. And don't hold on too tight of what you believe, because you'll find out the more you are involved in swimming and coaching, and I've been in it longer than most of you coaches have been alive, that you don't know a lot. That's it. You just don't know a lot. And you want to learn, make sure you put wonderful mentors around you. I think that is huge. But always ask the kids the questions. I really do. I think that's the big thing.
Kind of going along with what you were saying with the coaches thing. One of the things that, had to be maybe 2000. It was a long time ago, and I was sitting at a meeting at Tallahassee, Florida, and Terry Mull looked at me after the third day of being there for 15 hours a day, and he was a little bit delirious probably, and he looked at me, and I was a young kid coaching, and I purposely sat next to Terry to watch Terry because Terry's done a fantastic job. And he turned and looked at me and he said, "Bryan, do you want to be the kind of coach that thinks you know everything and doesn't learn anything? Or do you want to be the kind of coach that understands that the more you know, the less you know?" And that stuck with me for my entire career. And I actually brought it up when he was on with Greg and those guys on Swimmer Joe show, because I mean, that's one of the things I tell my coaches all the time. Like, if you think you've got all the answers, you're going to have a tough time going down this road. You've got to be willing to listen and learn. And that's something that I'm not very good at quietly sitting and watching like Rod suggested. I'm a little bit more walk up to you and ask you what you're doing and why you're doing it. But yeah, but that would be, I mean, that's the biggest thing for me. And I think the biggest thing too is just, that's part of the reason Tyler and I wanted to do the show is we wanted to give back to the age group coaches. And I think this is now the medium that is best to do that. So, I mean, that's part of the reason that we wanted to get you guys on here and do this. So.
Yeah, I want to piggyback real quick. I think one of the things I was talking to someone earlier this week, and I thought they put it really well, is as a young age group coach, you're getting a free audition for the next job. What you're doing right now, the skills that you pick up, find a mentor like everybody so far has said, and lean on that person. Ask questions. Stay humble in the fact that you might not know everything, and that kid may be swimming fast just because that kid is really good. It may not be because you're, just sprinkling this magic coaching fairy dust on them and you have all the answers, but learn to be a good assistant coach. If you see something going on deck with your head coach and he's timing something, pick up a stopwatch, ask what you can help out with, be able to move around and be dynamic at practice and at meets, but you're getting a free audition. It's an opportunity for you to show that coach, if down the road, if you're a new age group coach and you want to take the step from an assistant to a lead, or maybe a lead coach to a head age group coach somewhere, or you want to stay with your team, the best thing for that coach to be able to see is the job that you've already done. And maybe they don't even have to post that job. They're able to offer that to you because you've done that. And then also, if you decide to go somewhere else and do something different, you've accumulated all those skills, and now you've got something that you can market yourself with and take with you. So I think that's really important to use that. All right. A good Jimmy right there. Mentors are never ending. Absolutely. Always ask questions. I mean, I was very fortunate that I started my coaching career at CMSA with a few guys that I lean on, and I'm on Zooms. Kate's on a Zoom with me and one of those guys weekly. And so just have the opportunity to get to lean in and listen to what those guys are doing. I don't even talk most of the time. Hard to believe, but I don't even talk. I just sit there and try to take in what they're saying. So, all right, we're running up on just a few minutes left. Anything else you guys want to say to the greater swimming community out there? Nothing.
I just remember, this is always the thing I have to always remember. We're working with kids, and we are going to be an incredible influence in their lives and make it a positive one. I haven't been perfect, but make it a positive one. It's not about you, it's about them. Always remember, it's about them and not you.
Yeah, make it fun. Perfect point, Kate.
I think to piggyback on some of the stuff we were talking about, I think the biggest thing that I would probably say to young coaches is when you've got a really good kid, try not to be too enamored with the performance and focus on the basics and the fundamentals, and try to be consistent in the accountability across the group. Because I know early on in my career, I was really enamored with a couple of my really good kids, and I probably didn't do a very good job with some of them because the performance was so outstanding, and I think you've got to be consistent, and you've got to be fair, and you've got to expect the same things from every kid in the group and in the program consistently across the board. And I think that's a big mistake that a lot of young coaches, including myself when I was that age, made. And I think it definitely hurts. I mean, if you get a really big 10 and under boy and you don't ever get him to change anything, it's going to be tough. But
and you have an exceptional athlete that comes into your program, that swimmer is going to benefit the other kids in the age group, and you got to look at it that way, that they're going to make the talent with the other kids rise.
That's awesome. All right, guys.
I like Sean's comment: watch, listen, and keep learning.
Yeah, absolutely, Sean. Kate, Rod, thank you guys so much for joining us this evening, taking time away from your day. Rod, it's like 2:30 out there, so I mean, it's like right in the middle. But we appreciate you guys doing that, jumping on with us tonight, and hopefully next week we can bring you guys even more content. But we appreciate you guys being the first two guests on the inaugural show for Holding Water.
Yeah, hopefully there'll be many more. You guys will be famous someday for being the first guests.
All right, guys, y'all have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Join us on the Swim Monkey.
Swim
Swim monkey.
Monkey TV on